It's that time again. It's time for another League Cup recap. Unfortunately, I don't have any actual gameplay footage to show you this time around, but I do have a lot of stories because this was actually meant to be last week's cup, but it got postponed to this week, which I'm not a fan of. Mainly, I don't know if it's because this weekend has just been very busy for me aside from the Pokemon Cup. So maybe my mind wasn't really ready for Pokemon, and also, you know, it's been 2 weeks essentially since I last played in person, so maybe I got rusty over time. Also, I guess I'll go ahead and show you. I'm once again, of course, playing Gardevoir, but I did change up the deck today. So again, maybe all of this combined made me a bit, you know, not right in the head. I say this because, spoiler alert, I went 2 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws, but I absolutely should have at least gone, like what? Honestly, I arguably want to say 4 wins 1 time, maybe even 5 wins. But first, let's go over the deck list and what exactly I changed. So firstly, still typical 4 Raltses, one of them being the 60 HP memory skip Ralts, which is going to be very important later on. Your 4 Kirlias, 2 Gardevoirs, of course 3 Munkidoris. I still have the Budew, which honestly didn't help me out that much, but it did come out into play every now and then. There were 5 people, including me, playing Gardevoir. That is a lot more people than I was expecting to be playing Gardevoir. I was personally expecting a lot more Dragapults. And in fact, that's why I changed most of the deck for that. So as we get to the next cards, Flutter Mane, of course, that's the usual. Screamtail, Drifloon, and so, since the last time I played, I did not have a Klefki. I had like a Mawile and stuff like that. I actually took out the Mawile because, again, I think people are catching on to it. A lot of people are starting to play switches, switch cards, Turos and whatnot like that, which does make it harder to, you know, trap something in the active. However, the other card that I added was a Fezandipiti. Now I know, Fezandipiti seems crazy. The whole point of Gardevoir is that you want to have a bunch of 1 prizes. The only 2 prize liability is your big beefy Gardevoir. Why include Fezandipiti? Firstly, I have 2 Turos, so I can always pick this up if need be, if it does become a liability. Secondly, it's honestly, again, for the Dragapult matchup. I know that a lot of people play Cresselia for the Dragapult matchup. I'm just not a fan of it. Yes, I understand the appeal of Cresselia, but I feel like the Dragapult player can be smart and, you know, not do the spread damage if they know that you play Cresselia. The other reason is that, again, sort of with Dragapult, and just many in general, there are a lot of ways that they can get double KOs on your Kirlias. So, like, let's say you have, I don't know, something random like this, and you just happen to have, like, maybe 3 Kirlias. If you're lucky, you have 3 Kirlias. Again, Dragapult. Boss up 1 Kirlia. If you have damage somewhere else, they just put Radiant Alakazam 20 on here. They knock out both of your Kirlias. And then you, potentially speaking, maybe you already have a Gardevoir or something in play. You have no more draw power, right? What else is there? Radiant Greninja, also. Double knockout. Some people started to play... Spoilers, some people were playing Ogerpon Box with the Water Ogerpon that does 100 to the active, 120 on the bench. Also, again, double Kirlia knockout. There are so many ways for your Kirlias to get double knocked out, and then you have essentially no draw power. So Fezandipiti is just really nice because, at least for those ones where they do spread damage, for example, Dragapult, Water Ogerpon, Radiant Greninja in Lost Box, they can't really easily take out a Fezandipiti in 1 hit. And then obviously, if you're playing against something that can take out Fezandipiti in 1 hit, you don't bother playing it, you just use your Kirlias because more often than not, they can't get 2, right? Like, let's say Raging Bolt can very easily KO Fezandipiti. They can't KO 2 Kirlias though, so you should be fine. So yeah, that is why I included Fezandipiti today. And the other big notable change was that I'm not playing Secret Box anymore. I'm still playing Bravery Charm, of course, 2 TM Evos. I'm playing 2 Artisans, as usual, 3 Darkness Energy, 7 Psychic Energy, but I am playing Unfair Stamp. Obviously, I'm still concerned about them just having Professor's Research anyway after those 2 cards, and Fezandipiti and whatnot, but the value of disrupting your opponent. If you, obviously, at the start of the game, Unfair Stamp isn't as powerful as Secret Box, but let's say you do get set up eventually, where you do have several Kirlias, maybe a Gardevoir as well, you have some sort of attacker. If you can Unfair Stamp, and you give your opponent a hand so bad that all they can do is pass, right? That extra turn that you get essentially, where you have your Kirlias available, you have your Gardevoir, you have Artisan already in play, that 1 full extra turn of entire setup is worth so much more than, you know, a Secret Box getting you an Arven turn 1. But again, it's very gambly, right? It's depending on if they have it or not. But thankfully though, honestly, Unfair Stamp did me pretty well today. So obviously then, after everything else, you still have 2 Ultra Balls, 4 Buddy-Buddies, 2 Vessels, Hisuian Heavy Ball. Nest Ball now is back in again because I want to be able to find Fezandipiti if need be. 2 counter catches, Super Rod and 2 Night Stretchers for recursion, 4 Arven still, and then because we have Reset Stamp, which acts like an Iono, I only play 3 Ionos, 2 Turo Scenarios, and a Boss's Order. Now, with that deck list out of the way, let's get into the games. Round 1, I go up against Lost Box Pikachu. Immediately, as a Gardevoir player, you're like, I am so glad. Not only because obviously it's Lost Box, but because I re-added in the Klefki. So honestly, just this board alone, Klefki, Flutter Mane, and then obviously you have your Kirlias or whatever. This just stumps the opposing player. They can't use Radiant Greninja to concealed cards. They can't use Comfey's Flower Selecting. And then if you have Flutter Mane as your main attacker, they can't get a return KO with Cramorant because, it cancels out the ability. It is great. Game 1 was a sweep. I took 3 prizes and then he just instantly scooped. We went to game 2. However, game 2, I made a horrible, not even a misplay, I made a major mistake. I did able to get Klefki out because again, you can Buddy-Buddy Poffin for it, but he played Crispin, which was very interesting. So, it's an easier way to get some energy onto something like a Radiant Greninja without needing Mirage Gate, and that's exactly what he did. Thankfully, I did manage to have I had multiple Kirlias, or I think I didn't even have multiple Kirlias. I had some Ralts down and whatever, but he did exactly what I mentioned, He pulled Prime Catcher to pull up Kirlia, used Crispin to attach 2 energy onto his Radiant Greninja. He had 1 energy from before, and then he just went pop, pop, takes out 2 Kirlias. He goes down to 4 prize cards. I'm still on 6. Thankfully, because I play Fezandipiti, I am able to mount quite a comeback, Fezandipiti, Unfair Stamp, get some other cards. I think I was able to eventually get Flutter Mane back into the active, somehow get a Gardevoir out, and I don't know when exactly it was, but eventually I do knock out his Radiant Greninja with my Flutter Mane in the active, so I get a prize card. I'm down to 5, he's still down to 4. And then of course, because Flutter Mane is there in the active, he can't really do much. He can't even Iron Bundle because if he does, I'll just put up the Klefki instead. And so he passes or whatever, right? On my next turn, I'm able to get down a second Munkidori again, energize it as well. And then I do the classic, right? I pull up somehow, or he had a Comfey in the active. I move 60 damage with my Munkidoris onto his benched Comfey. And then I can use Flutter Mane to knock out his active Comfey and put a damage counter on his benched Comfey to knock that one out, taking 2 prizes. However, here's my mistake. I only took 1 prize card from this double Comfey knockout. So I now have 4 prize cards left. He also has 4 prize cards left. He is honestly in a very bad spot. His Pokemon that are left are a Cramorant, which again isn't able to attack because it doesn't have an ability. He does have 4 cards in the Lost Zone though. And then I think his other Pokemon is a Sableye. So he has no way to actually get more cards in the Lost Zone, but he does have enough for a Cramorant attack. But of course, Flutter Mane is there in the active. I think at this point as well, I also had a Kirlia because I maybe Turoed it back up. Again, not wanting to leave a liability there. But essentially what happens then is, because of his board state, he just passes to me. And so, I draw for turn, and I play an Arven, and I start to search my deck. And then he goes, wait a minute, hang on. Why are we even on prizes? And I was like, oh, I forgot to take a prize card. But unfortunately, this is a major error because it has taken so long. He went through his whole turn and we didn't notice this. But now that it is my turn, this is a mistake because I have now drawn a card. I have Arven to search into my deck, which honestly isn't even that many cards, but still, I'm seeing my deck. And also, he actually had a counter catcher in his hand on his turn that he couldn't play because it looked like we were even on prizes. So what he could have done is he could have gone counter catcher, Kirlia, Cramorant is in the active, and like I said, he does have 4 cards in the Lost Zone, so he could have gone and knocked out a Kirlia. But because it looked like we were even on prizes, he couldn't play his counter catcher, and so you can't really rewind that because then if he counter catches, who knows what else he could, like in theory, maybe he had like a Night Stretcher and a Comfey. He could have counter catched a Kirlia, put down a Comfey, use Flower Selecting to get stuff out, then play a switch card for the Cramorant and then get a knockout. So at that point, the best way to describe it is it was irreversible. We could not go back because I've also already like drawn a card. I've looked into the deck. I have gotten information that I should not know. And so unfortunately, that was a major gameplay error, and so it was a game loss for me. And so because of that, it was a tie, which again, I feel confident that I could have won that if I had just taken an extra prize card. Moving on to round 2, I go up against somebody playing Charizard. And honestly, this was very stressful because even though he admittedly said, this is his first time playing, he has a Charizard deck, he has upgraded it a little bit, but it isn't anything too crazy, right? But still, it is Charizard, I am weak to it. But of course, I do have Budew. And so, my start is not that great, I'll be honest. I'm able to get down some Raltses, I'm able to get in a Budew, and I am able to item lock him. But that's fine, because of the fact that he's playing, you know, the original Charizard deck, with not many other stuff, he's just able to manually evolve into Pidgeot, or Pidgeotto rather, and Charmeleon, and he eventually gets his KO on the Budew. And I've struggled to find an Arven, I struggled to find a Buddy-Buddy or TM Evo, so I had the Buddy-Buddy Poffin, I had multiple Raltses down. I had like a Munkidori as well. After he knocks out Budew, I'm, you know, in a panic. I'm like, I don't have anything. I don't have a Fezandipiti. I don't have Nest Ball. I have no way to, you know, evolve into Kirlia. So all I did was I put my Munkidori up. I had an energy on it already from somewhere else. And I was like, I'll just mind bend and pray that, you know, you don't flip heads. Of course, he flipped heads. So, okay, cool. I go down 2 prizes by now. So I put up my Ralts instead, the memory skip one. I attach for turn and I use memory skip. I say you can't use Burning Darkness. I was able to get some Kirlias down eventually, I think. Maybe even I do actually get down a Fezandipiti, importantly. But technically speaking, he cannot one-shot my Fezandipiti when I still have 6 prize cards, because Burning Darkness will only do 180, and he wasn't playing any Duskulls or Dusknoirs. So memory skip, cool. But of course, because he's playing like one of the original Charizard decks, he has like a lot of energy. So he's able to rare candy down another Charizard, attach energy, switch out, and then, you know, KO my Ralts again. At this point, he has 2 Charizards. Both of them are like decent amount of energy on them. He has a Pidgeot as well, which also has energy, so we could use that for a knockout. He also had a Charmander and a regular Pidgey on the bench. This is very important. I am able to eventually get out a Gardevoir, I think a Kirlia as well, maybe even a Munkidori, and I'm able to put down a Screamtail. Oh, not a Screamtail, sorry, a Drifloon. And I can't remember exactly how I did it, but I knew that he can always just get boss with his Pidgeotto and then just KO whatever he wants. So what I did was I attached a bunch of energy to the Drifloon. I didn't attach enough for a KO on this Pidgeot though. Again, I think him putting it in the active was a bit of a mistake, but through a combination of double Munkidori, and then I put Gardevoir in the active, attached a bunch of energy to Gardevoir, moved all the damage onto the Pidgeot, which was in the active. I then Turoed up my Gardevoir, because again, I know he can just get Boss's Order with Quick Search and then KO. And I didn't have enough energy in the discard pile to, you know, go Bravery Charm swing with Drifloon for an instant KO. So instead, I did that. There's 60 damage from the Munkidoris on the Pidgeot, and then there's now 180 from Drifloon. So there's what, 240 damage on the Pidgeot. It is ready for a knockout on the following turn, and more importantly, I have no 2 prizes on the bench. He has 3 prize cards left. He can't even KO Fezandipiti because I did not KO this Pidgeot. So what does he do? He takes out my Drifloon. I'm like, okay, cool, that is fine. Now it's go time. I put Kirlia up, I evolve it into Gardevoir, I attach some energy to it, and then I use, you know, Double Monkey to KO his Pidgeot, which means that now he can no longer quick search for boss if he needs to. And then I also Unfair Stamp him down to 2 cards. So at this point in time, he has 2 Charizards. One of them is kind of damaged, but it still has a lot of HP. 4 prize cards left. And then I think I was able to get the Drifloon back down and reattach some energy with the Bravery Charm this time, I think. And remember, because of Mind Bend plus Budew damage, I was able to knock out one of his Charizards. So I am down to 2 prize cards left. We are both down to 2 prize cards left, actually. But thankfully, because of the Unfair Stamp and because I took out his Pidgeot, he can no longer quick search for, you know, a KO or anything. And so he just swings, takes out my Drifloon. And then this is where that mistake comes in of him benching down a Pidgey and a, what is it called? Charmander. And so I just push up the Gardevoir again. I don't need to KO his Charizard. I can grab Screamtail with an Artisan, move 60 damage with Munkidori from the Gardevoir onto the Pidgey, which only has 50 HP, get a knockout, and then use Screamtail to attack the benched Charmander for another 2 prizes. That is the beauty of Gardevoir being able to navigate that very scary situation. Game 2, honestly, I got, I think, a bit too greedy. I went second because he wanted to, you know, be able to rare candy and stuff like that, and I actually had a chance to go for Budew again. Now here's the thing though, I watched him use Ultra Ball to get a Pidgeot. I don't know if it's the hubris or maybe I was like underestimating him or something. I had a Ralts in the active and then I played an Arven to get Buddy-Buddy Poffin, of course, and TM Evo. But I placed down 2 Raltses instead of getting Budew, which I did have in the deck. And instead, I decided to get greedy, and I decided to TM Evo. Because in my mind, I was like, you know, let me get my 2 Kirlias up sooner rather than later. This was a big misplay, because lo and behold, on his turn, Rare Candy Pidgeot, Rare Candy Charizard, KO my Kirlia. And I'm like, okay, that's scary. Now, to be fair, I did manage to somewhat claw it back again. Very similar as last time. I was able to get down a Gardevoir, Munkidori, and then similar things, you know. Drifloon with Bravery Charm to KO his Charizard, and eventually we were down to 2 prizes each. We were on turns, and I had a 1 prize in the active. I thought I was fine. I unfair stamped him down to 2 cards, but he had Arven, and off of Arven, he just found Prime Catcher to KO my Gardevoir. So I think definitely that was just me getting overzealous and not going for the Budew play, even though I could have. But that means that was our 2nd tie. Game 3 is where I'm like really mad now. Round 3, I play against Gouging Fire Delphox, and this was scary because this was a matchup I have not played against. But again, thanks to the fact that I have included both Flutter Mane and Klefki, it was great for me, and especially because that's actually how I started. And it was actually great because I chose to go 2nd, as I would, and I just happened to start with Flutter Mane in the active while he had Radiant Greninja in the active. I was like, dude, that is so perfect for me. Radiant Greninja is exactly where I wanted, where it can't use concealed cards against my Flutter Mane. And eventually on my turn, I'm able to get up a Klefki as well, and also I'm able to TM Evo, get down a some Kirlias too. But as luck would have it, again, as if I like have been expecting this, he was able to charge up his Delphox and then pull up a boss's order to put my Kirlia in the active, and then use Delphox's attack to take out both Kirlias. Again, this is why Fezandipiti is great. Now, to be fair, I did have to be careful because, again, Fezandipiti in this case scenario can be KO'd by something like his Gouging Fire. Now, thankfully, the one saving grace for me was that I constantly had Ionos to really screw him over and buy myself some turns. And I also kept on putting the Flutter Mane back in the active, or the Klefki even. Because again, Delphox did have to discard 2 energy to use that attack, and it's not that easy to get the energy back when you can't, you know, use concealed cards, you can't use fleet-footed and stuff like that. And also after I Iono you down to 4 cards. And eventually I am able to get a Gardevoir out with, you know, 2 Munkidoris, and maybe there was a Kirlia here as well. So at some point, this is what my board looked like. I was able to put Gardevoir in the active, and then Munkidori some damage across onto something random, and then get a knockout. So I'm down to 4 prize cards as well. Now, I don't remember exactly what he did. I think it maybe have been the Fezandipiti that he knocked out, but somehow he took another 2 prize cards. So he was down to 2 prize cards left, and I was down to 4 prize cards. Also, my Gardevoir was very heavily damaged. So on my turn, I was like, okay, well, obviously I can't attack with my Gardevoir in the active, and I don't really want to grab I couldn't really grab a Screamtail or anything like that, or a Drifloon, because Bravery Charm was prized, and I could not swing to KO any of his Pokemon that had these Bravery Charms on themselves. So what I did was, instead, I was trying to set up a 4 prize turn. But honestly, I don't know why I'm so dumb. I missed a very obvious play. This entire time he has had a Squawkabilly benched. So I evolve into Gardevoir, and I know I lose to boss no matter what. And he also benched down a Fezandipiti. So I retreat into this Gardevoir, I move 60 damage onto the, what is it called? Squawkabilly, so it has 100 left. And then I attack his, like, what, Entei or Gouging Fire or whatever, that has a Bravery Charm. So it does 190 damage. It is not KO'able with Munkidori on the next turn. Nothing can be KO'd with Munkidori for 2 prizes next turn. And so then on his turn, he swings back and hits my Gardevoir. So now both my Gardevoirs are very heavily damaged. I think I was able to get down another Kirlia, but my go-to play was that I played Professor Turo to heal up a Gardevoir, get a new fresh one in. And remember, like I said, there is a Squawkabilly now. It has 60 damage on it. It has 100 left. There is a Raging Fire in the active. It has damage on it, but it's not enough for a Munkidori KO, and I can KO it with Miracle Force. But then I activate Fezandipiti for him, and like I said, a single boss, and I lose because of my damaged Gardevoir on the bench. And I Iono'd him down to 2, and for the past couple of turns, he had been really struggling. I can see that he does not have the cards in hand to do anything. So I just pass my turn. Or before I pass though, I'm really dumb, and I place 60 damage with Munkidori onto his active Gouging Fire, which I can KO at any time with just an attack, instead of placing it on this benched Squawkabilly. And that is my major misplay. And after this turn, I realized, like, oh, I'm actually really dumb. I've messed this up so badly. And then on his turn again, he just punches me back again against my Gardevoir. I think it was, sorry, it wasn't a Gouging Fire because Gouging Fire can't attack on the next turn. It was a Entei V, so that's why he could constantly attack. But now though, because he attacked me again, I have two Gardevoirs, both of them are very heavily damaged. I have no form of Gust because my last counter catcher is in the prize cards. And then also, he has an Entei V in the active with 10 HP left, but he has a Squawkabilly on the bench with 100 HP left still. And again, if only I put the damage there, I would have won if I had just gone move 60 again onto the Squawkabilly, knockout, and then just swing into the Entei V. But because I didn't do that, I was really panicking. And like I said, my Gardevoir was heavily damaged, both of them, so I can't keep it in the active anymore. So here's what I did. I didn't realize this, by the way. I learned something new. But I first used Munkidori to move 30 damage onto his Entei V. I take 2 prize cards. We are now even on prize cards. He promotes his Flutter Mane, which, you know, we were joking and saying, oh, I can't use Psychic Embrace anymore, but I have another Gardevoir on the bench, so I can still use Psychic Embrace. Now, I did this, but I knew the big issue was that now he can use Fezandipiti on his next turn. So what I did was, I retreated into Klefki, and I was like, haha. Now, Klefki cancels out basic Pokemon abilities. He cannot use, what is it called? Flip the script. But then we realized, wait a minute. He has Flutter Mane. He promoted Flutter Mane after I KO'd his Entei. Flutter Mane cancels out the opposing Pokemon's ability, but Klefki cancels out all basic Pokemon abilities. So we weren't sure now. And as it turns out, apparently the ruling is whichever Pokemon went into play first has priority. So because he had Flutter Mane first, Flutter Mane now is already cancelling out whatever is in this active spot. So Klefki comes in, and before Klefki can even try to cancel out Flutter Mane's ability, Flutter Mane is already cancelling it. Which means that all basic Pokemon in play, including his Fezandipiti, are now good to go. And I'm like, oh man, now I'm really hoping that he doesn't have the out. Because I mean, at least I have a Klefki in the active. He still needs boss, and he also still needs a way to attack. So again, he has like 2 cards, maybe 3 cards. He draws, his top deck is a boss's order. He still needs more though. But because Klefki's ability is no longer in play, he can use Fezandipiti, and Fezandipiti gets him exactly what he needs. He gets the energy switch and like something else, like a switch card or whatever, to switch in his Entei or his Gouging Fire or something like that, boss up a Gardevoir, and then get a KO. And I was devastated by this because again, all I had to, like, I don't know why I placed 60 damage on the Entei in the active. Again, maybe I was just tired and sleep deprived, so I wasn't thinking straight. Also, this is the first time I'm actually playing Gouging Fire, so I wasn't really ready and, you know, thinking right about how to win. But then, honestly, after that, I went on a tear. The next 2 matches, again, maybe it's because I played against, you know, other people that have also been losing, but I was winning pretty handily. I played up against somebody that was playing Ogerpon Box, who again, with his Water Ogerpon, went and got a double KO on both my Kirlias with Boss and Torrential, whatever it's called. So really, my Kirlias have been taking beatings, which is why I was really happy that I had Fezandipiti, honestly. But then yeah, after that, thankfully, Ogerpon Box, even with a Terapagos as well, yes, that's cool and all, but at the end of the day, Gardevoir plus a Munkidori always KOs no matter what. And so because of that, that was an easy 2-0. And then for the 5th and final matchup, I feel bad because it was a guy playing the wall deck where you have Noiverns, you have Milotic, you have Mimikyu, and you have Cornerstone Ogerpon. It's great for a lot of matchups. I think he was also expecting a lot more Dragapults than expected. The one deck that it struggles with against, though, is Gardevoir. Drifloon, like, it bypasses everything. Drifloon doesn't have a ability, so you can KO the Ogerpon. It's not an EX, so you can KO Mimikyu. It's not a Terra, so you can KO Milotic. And if they play Noivern, which can't be attacked by basic Pokemon, then you just have Gardevoir attack it instead. So that was a win for me. But like I said though, if I didn't misplay against that Gouging Fire, if I didn't, you know, make a major misplay or major mistake in game 1 forgetting to take a prize card, and if I didn't get greedy and I just Budewed instead of using TM Evo, I had 3 chances for wins. So, you know, I could have made it into top cut again. At least that's what I'm coping and telling myself. But to be fair though, I'm not too mad. Honestly, I got to go home early, so that's always nice. Now I will say, next week is pre-release, so I'll probably be playing that. And then the week after pre-release is a one last cup before rotation happens. And honestly, on one hand, I do want to play Gardevoir again, give it like one last hurrah. But at the same time, like, I've been playing Gardevoir over and over and over. And after today, seeing like 5 different people play Gardevoir, I'm tempted to switch it up for the next cup. Not even play Dragapult, because Dragapult I'll probably play after rotation. I might try out something wacky, and that's going to be the Champions League deck of Feraligatr, plus Munkidori, and of course, you know, a Milotic here and there. But that is only going to be in 2 weeks' time though. So for now, I'll have to, you know, reflect on my big misplays as usual, and then hopefully next time come back stronger than ever. But until next time though, bye-bye.